Ciao a tutti e benvenuti nel video di oggi. Today we are going to be talking about the Serie A season that is coming up, and I'm going to be giving you my predictions for the Serie A season. Naming the places of relegation, mid-table, who will qualify for Europe, and I'll also, on top of that, be naming who I think will be the top scorer, top assister, best young player, best keeper, most clean sheets. I'm going to be covering everything for this season. And we are going to be starting off this season in the relegation, who I believe is going to get relegated to Serie B this year. And I have gone for, at 20th, I have gone for Cremonese, coming second in Serie B last season. They lost a number of games in the Serie B last year, and for me personally, their football is not looking like they can trouble any mid-table teams for me. And I feel like when they go up against the top teams such as Inter, Juve, Roma, they are going to get ripped to pieces. I feel they did well to get some certain wins. They finished last year in Serie B with the most wins, but at the same time they lost 9-10 games last year. And in Serie B, the quality down there is just not really good, like compared to Serie A. It's just levels and levels above the Serie A. So I don't think Cremonese is going to be doing that well. So I predict that they will finish 20th, dead last. And finishing 19th, I feel it will be Salernitana. They did very well to miss relegation last season. Very experienced players that they have in there, and flip of a coin, no matter how old they are, the likes of Ribery can just at any point just still produce the magic that they still possess. Obviously, the age is getting to some of them, but at the flip of the coin, they can produce some nice football from time to time, and they've challenged some very decent teams last season in the games they played. But I feel that their time in Serie A will be coming to an end, and they will be found out a lot more by the mid-table, high European challenging squads. And I think that it will be very, very poor performance from this season, and I think they will finish 19th. But over the last year or two, it's been very exciting to see them play in Serie A. And finishing 18th, the last team that I believe that is going to be relegated is going to be Monza, also newly promoted team that came from Serie B. They were very exciting to watch, scoring the most goals in Serie B. They had one of the best defensive records. I think they conceded the 6th or 5th least amount of goals conceded, so they got some decent defensive prowess about them. But again, the difference in the leagues, like the same case for Cremonese, I don't think they're going to be producing football that will challenge some of the mid-table or top teams, get them the results that they need, and especially even the ones just above that I predict will be in relegation. They are going to have a tough time against them, and I just don't feel that they have enough strength, enough quality, and don't possess many experienced players for them to remain in Serie A. But overall, I think they're going to do slightly better than the two I mentioned before. But back to Serie B, I believe, from Monza FC. Now, finishing 17th, just above the relegation, I have gone for Spezia. Didn't really watch a great deal of them in Serie A last year, to be honest with you. But in the games that I've encountered with watching as a Juventus fan, they scored some goals, but overall they just didn't possess enough to challenge the big teams. They got a couple of results last year, winning 10 games but losing 22 games. They were level second most defeats last year in Serie A, but just due to how poor I feel the couple of the Serie B teams are going to play this season. I think they will just about stay up, but they are going to be in contention for relegation for the vast majority of the season, I feel. But I think they'll have enough to stay up. Finishing 16th, I've gone for Lecce. They were very promising in Serie B last year. I mean, they just, the second highest scoring team, only conceding 31 goals in 38 games, which is a very good defensive record to have. Obviously, they didn't win many games as some of the other teams. I think they were the third most wins last year in Serie B. But the type of football they play is very promising. They look very solid in Serie B last season. Based on my recollection, I'm not entirely sure how far they went into the Coppa Italia last year. I think they just missed out on the round of 16, if I believe. So they got far into the Coppa Italia and played some tremendous football, and obviously was kind of close in terms of points for the Serie B title, but they looked much more promising than the other two teams that are promoted, playing some good defensive football. They can hold possession very well, and I think it will be very exciting to see how they will play against some of the Serie A clubs. But I'm not expecting a crazy season. I don't think they're going to be causing a lot of shocks, but I think they're going to have plenty to stay up in Serie A next season, and 16th is where I predict they will finish. And then 15th, I have gone for Empoli. Again, going off of what they did against us, even though we had a poor season last year, Juventus, they can score goals. They're pretty prolific in scoring goals against teams. They challenge anyone, but again, just conceded a ridiculous number of goals. Second most in Serie A last year. So I don't think they're going to be challenging for mid-table. I think it's going to be a slight decline, just mostly because of the teams above them strengthening this season. But again, I wouldn't say that they're going to be in trouble this year. I feel that they are just going to keep it steady, just stay between 12th, 16th. Don't think they're going to hit the relegation at any point. I feel that it's just between the ones I mentioned before. But yeah, I think Empoli 15th would be fair. 14th, just a position higher than where they finished last year. I've gone for Sampdoria. Still got some decent players that can grind out results for you whenever need to be. Very experienced team as well. They've stayed in Serie A for a number of years. Big club as well, former Champions League finalists. Again, like with Empoli, I don't think they're going to challenge a great deal for mid-table, but I'd say around lower half of the table is where I predict Sampdoria will be. I reckon they'll get a couple of shock results against some of the big teams, which they've proven to do many, many times. But another steady season, I predict, for Sampdoria. 13th, I've gone for Udinese. Again, just steady. They can shock you from time to time. Last year, with our opening game, managed to making a comeback. So Udinese are a team in Serie A. They've got a lot of heart. But they will not go down without a fight. They will get some goals past you, and they have some incredible players. And average team, to be honest, overall. I mean, they've got a couple of players that can get you some goals, but again, steady season for them. And in 12th place, I feel it'll be Bologna. Same for Udinese. Very steady, won't cause many shocks. And 11th, I've gone for Torino. Slightly lower than what they have. This is only on their current squad. And as it stands right now, Belotti has not officially signed for Roma, but it's looking like the deal is looking like it's going to be happening soon. But if Belotti was to leave, I could back them even going down lower to 15th because, you know, he's been a very crucial player for them, very clinical striker, and he is their captain as well. So if he was to leave, that would be a huge blow for Torino. But as the squad stands right now, if they can somehow hold on to him, but I don't believe they will finish 11th, slightly lower than what they finished last year, 10th. Very even in terms of goals created, goals conceded. So I think it will be a steady season if they can hold on to Belotti. But if not, I would probably drop them down to maybe 15th or 16th. And finishing 10th, right in the middle of the table, I have gone for Hellas Verona. Just a place lower than where they finished last year. They can cause upsets. They've got some tremendous players, especially Giovanni Simeone, who is a prolific goal scorer in Serie A. He's proven to be a very good striker. And if the creativity can be given to him, he can bag 20 to 25 goals in the season, and he's a very good striker. Surprised no one's been snatching him up this season, but I think it'll be a pretty decent season yet again for Verona. Just like I said, finishing a place lower than where they did last year, but again, I think they're going to have a decent season, staying in the top half of the mid-table, thereabouts, and then finishing 9th. Above them, I've gone for Sassuolo. Very promising players that they have there. Still got Dominic Berardi. They've had some of the best talents overall in Europe, even though they've lost Samaka. I still think that they're going to do slightly a little better than what they did last year. They've still got tremendous players all across the board, strong defence, attack-wise, it cause anyone problems. They are like the bogey team in Serie A. Like, no matter who you are, like Inter, Roma, AC, Juve, or Napoli, they are the ones that always can grind out a result against the top teams. So I think that they are going to do slightly better than they did last year, 9th. And finishing in 8th, I've gone for Fiorentina. Losing Vlahovic midway through the season, which showed dropping in performances. You know, if Vlahovic had stayed for the full season, they would have got into possibly the Europa League spot. But with the team as it is, I don't think they're going to qualify for Europe next year. And with the likes of Atalanta, Roma, Lazio, everyone else above who I've named, it's going to be very tough for them to get a European spot, and I just don't think they have a squad strong enough to contend and get a European spot. So I think they will miss out, just finish 8th in the season. And going on to 7th, who I think will finish in the Conference League spots, Atalanta, who missed out on Europe last year, and the seasons before that, very strong, solid team all across the board, had a solid defence, midfield that can create so many chances, and a prolific attack that can challenge anyone. And they nearly got a semi-final a couple of years ago. It just shows how good the squad is. But the squad is declining, it's not improving, it's getting a bit older, it's missing some key players that made them such a good team a couple of years ago that challenged for European spots, got Champions League for a couple of years, but now not enough investment has gone into the team, and they've still got a phenomenal coach. But they're just finishing slightly ahead where they finished last year. Only missed out on the Conference League by 3 points, and one more win would have got them the Conference League spot, because their goal difference was much more superior than Fiorentina last year. But I do think they're going to get Conference League spot. Now we're going to be moving on to the Europa League. Going for 6th, I am placing Napoli. Considerably lower than where they finished last year, but losing some key players in this window. They lost Koulibaly. For me, last year, the second best centre-back in Serie A. One of the best centre-backs in the world for a long, long time. And Insigne as well, who their captain, going to the MLS, which was a shock for everyone because I feel he still could have gone for a couple more seasons. But just losing them players, still got an old squad. I believe Mertens has left as well, the all-time goal scorer. Not entirely sure. I think I saw something of him leaving. And losing a huge amount of players. And I don't think they have enough depth, enough strength to continue to compete for the Serie A, considering that loads of the teams above them have improved drastically. So I think that it's going to be a much more poorer season for Napoli this year. And if they want Champions League, they're going to have to hope that the teams above them will drop in points. But I don't think that will happen. So 6th is where Napoli will finish. 5th, same as they did last year, I've gone for Lazio. Haven't made too many drastic changes. Haven't increased their squad massively either. And I think they will remain where they finished last year at 5th. I don't think they will compete for Champions League as much as they did last year. They missed out on Champions League just by 1 point, but that was because we practically had sealed Champions League and just lost a couple of games at the end of the season. That's why they catched up. But don't think Lazio are going to challenge for the Champions League as much. I mean, they've still got some phenomenal players. They've got Savic in midfield, who is still one of the best DMs, holding midfielders in the world, in my opinion, and he can score some outrageous goals. Ciro Immobile, he will get you goals all the time. He's been the top goal scorer consistently in contention for that title for 5-6 years now. Like, he, for me, is one of the most underrated strikers in Europe over the last few seasons because of the number of goals he gets in the most defensive league as well. Not a lot of people take as much consideration in that. And they have some solid defenders as well. They are a tough team to go up against. Anyone will say the same. They are just phenomenal to watch. They are a nightmare to play against. So I feel Lazio will miss out on the Champions League spot and finish 5th. Now getting on to Champions League, which I think is going to be the most competitive Champions League fight we are ever going to see in Serie A for a long, long time. And for me, I think this season is going to be the most competitive league in terms of challenging for the title, Champions League and Europa League spots. I feel it's going to be very entertaining. But going to 4th, I have gone for AC Milan. AC Milan have not strengthened at all, which I thought they would have done. There's been a lot of inquiries of players have been going after this season, but nothing has been finalised. Like, no massive players that I think are going to make them retain or compete for the title. They're going to be hovering above 3rd, 2nd, maybe at some point of the season, but overall, I don't think they have strengthened enough to compete for Serie A this season. I mean, and also losing their captain Romagnoli, which I was completely shocked about, letting him go to Lazio. And obviously they've still got some class players going forward, like Leao, phenomenal player, finished top assister last year. They've got experience as well in Ibrahimovic, Giroud, but also losing the key midfielder in Kessie, losing the captain Romagnoli, just not strengthening enough all round, and in my opinion gotten worse over the window. I think that they're going to drop dramatically this season. But I think they will still manage to retain Champions League because the players that they do have, in Theo Hernandez, for me, the best left back in the league. Leao, who is going to have a bright future ahead of him. So, still got some decent centre backs in there. But the midfield, again, it's weaker. I still think they'll have enough to just get the Champions League spot because I think Lazio will be on their arse. But I think that AC will just about pull through. Now, finishing 3rd. place higher than what we did last year. Juve. Now, we had a very good window, a very good, solid window, getting in the players that we needed. We got in, just recently, a solid wing-back in Kostic, which we desperately needed. Because that is an area in which we have been so poor. Not just last season, the last 2-3 seasons. But our board, overall, over the last few years, has just not been that good in terms of recruiting players. And not only that, selling key players as well. There was a point when we had Spinazzola on the left and Cancelo on the right. That is a full-back pairing that is good enough to win the Champions League. Now we have to Sandro, who's just been decreasing year after year after year, and Danilo has been so inconsistent. Like, he can sometimes have a very solid game, then sometimes have a poor game. And then not only that, bringing in a solid replacement for De Ligt in Bremer, who won Serie A Defender of the Season last year, which was a big miss for Torino as well. And I feel also not forgetting strengthening our attack in Pogba and in Di Maria, midfield and attack improving drastically with Chiesa coming back and Vlahovic. And not to mention that we could be possibly bringing in Depay. That is looking like a very possible signing. And, well, if I think that we will compete for the Scudetto this season, but we're not going to have enough to regain the title. I feel like this is going to be a new era for Juventus. We're going to we must see a more improved performances, but in terms of winning the Scudetto, that is going to be a push too far. I feel like we just need to focus on getting slightly higher and competing for it, but I don't think we're going to win it this season because two teams above us just strengthen so much more, and overall, all across the board, much better team. We've just got to focus on going further in the Champions League stage, trying to win the Coppa d'Italia, get a trophy back, get that winning mentality back. But I just don't think it will be really that possible for us to win the Scudetto this season. So that's why I've gone for Juve third, finishing second, the same as they did last year. I've gone for Inter Milan, so which means who I think is going to win the Scudetto this season, I think it's going to be Roma. Roma have had an outstanding transfer window, signing Gigi Wijnaldum, signing Paulo Dybala, on top of the players that they had last season who were absolutely world-class, some of them. They've got experience and youth, and they've got players that are still in their prime that can get the absolute best out of. All across the board, they have got a solid team. They have one of the best fullbacks in the league in Spinazzola. They've got a solid defence in Mancini and Smalling. Midfield, Wijnaldum. Dybala, who I expect will play as at number 10. And then the attacking options that they have is just phenomenal. Pellegrini, who I think is an absolute world-class player and is one of Italy's best attacking players going forward. Zaniolo as well, Tammy Abraham having an absolute record-breaking, outstanding season, and a world-class coach in Mourinho, even though people think he's done so bad over the last few years, and I even thought that as well, that he's lost his touch somewhat, but you look at it like poor attitude from players and what have you, and this team, I know, is giving 110% for Mourinho, winning the Conference League last year, getting Europa League this year. That they, I think, if they had the right attitude and the right mindset, they are definitely going to win the Scudetto this year. But Inter, I think, are just going to drop off ever slightly. It's going to be very close for the Scudetto this year. I think it's going to be Juve, Inter and Roma are going to be the ones competing for it. But I don't think Juve will be the ones to get it. So I think Inter and Roma are going to be the ones that one of them is really going to be realistically going to win the Campionato this year. Inter as well, like, I mean, you can't fault them at all. As much as I hate to say as a Juventus fan, I can't stand them. All around, world-class team. signing Lukaku back as well. We're gonna be seeing the Martinez Lukaku partnership back, which will absolutely rip teams to pieces, not just in Serie A but in Europe as well. And they are going to play some phenomenal football and still be in contention for the Campionato. But I think Roma overall have had a better window. They have better manager, and I think that they have got. But that's another thing, hunger, because Roma have been craving the Serie A for so long, but they've not had an all-round team over the last 10-15 years as much as they do now. And I think now they will be getting that Serie A title. And that is my prediction for the table as a whole. And now we're going to go on to the individual awards. I think top goal scorer. Oh, it's going to be between Vlahovic, Immobile, and I might say Martinez. And I believe Vlahovic will take it this year. Just joining Juve halfway through the season, I probably stopped him, but he was the top goal scorer in the Serie A ahead of Immobile for Fiorentina. And the creativity that we've got now on the wings, and now having Pogba in that midfield, which is going to add a bit more flair to the midfield, he will be getting seen a lot more chances now, and I feel that he will definitely take the Golden Boot, and I think coming close second will probably be Immobile, and then I think Martinez is going to be in and around competing for it, but I think Vlahovic will be the one walking away with the title of top goal scorer this season. Now, top assister. Last year being Leao. I don't feel he'll be doing it this year because I think AC will be struggling a little bit, but get the Champions League. I feel top assister. I'm going for Dybala for Roma. If he stays fit and he plays in a number 10, he will not only get a lot of assists, he will get a lot of goals as well. Like, he was a top assister for us for a great number of seasons. And on top of that, scoring a lot of goals as well. And his technical ability, his pace, his agility, he is a phenomenal player. And it was such a shame that his injuries have really done him in the dirty this last few years, because if it weren't for injuries, he could have been one of the best players in the world. And that's not even just me being biased because he's a former Juventus player, but he can. And if Mourinho is smart and plays him in a number 10, which is his best position, he will even possibly contend for the top goal scorer. But I feel he will get the top assister with Pellegrini beside him, Abraham, Zaniolo. He will get, and also his set pieces as well. He can deliver great corners, and that could be great, as I said, with like Smalling, Abraham, Mancini on the end of them at set pieces. I feel he will be getting the top assister. Now, most clean sheets. I don't think it'll be Juventus. I think it will be Inter Milan for the most clean sheets. So I think Handanovic will take the Golden Glove this season. Phenomenal defence. One of the best and most underrated keepers over the last 10 years, Handanovic. It's just so difficult to score against them. Like, if they're all playing on their day, like Skriniar, one of the, from my opinion, the best centre-back in the world. And then you've got the likes of Bastoni, De Vrij, absolute phenomenal defence. And it's just a nightmare to play against, honestly. And that's, I hate giving them their credit, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. So I think they will get the Golden Glove. And best player, it's really tough because I could see Dybala having an absolute blinder of a season. I could see Martinez just playing out of his skin. Juve as well. We've got Vlahovic and Chiesa. If he's playing at full fitness for the whole season, doesn't have that many injuries, Chiesa could be the type of player that you just talk about as being one of the best in the world if he was to play throughout the season, no injuries. Because on his day, I would take him over any winger that is playing in the world right now. I'll take him over anyone on his day. But it's really tough. I'd say Dybala because I think Roma will win the Serie A this season. I feel he'll get the top assister, and then as well, he'll be probably 5th, 6th top goal scorer. So overall, I think he will contribute to around 30 goals in the Serie A this season. So I think Dybala will get the best player this season overall. So that's it for my prediction of Serie A this season, guys. Please comment your thoughts on where you think all these teams are going to finish, who's going to win the Serie A, who will get the Golden Boot, and who will get Champions League for this season. And if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can be alerted whenever me or Ash uploads any new content. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. But that is me, Jake. Much love. Take care.